Welcome to the second demo of the Artisan Electronic Instruments Baroque Synthesizer. I'm going to make a couple of short demos that cover the sections that we didn't cover the last time. Mainly going to be focusing on the control section, which is your entry point for complex modulation routing, patch storage, and in-depth access to the parameter set. And those are all accessed through these buttons here on the side, the center section here with the display, and the three knobs and the enter and exit button. It's also, you get towards routing towards any of these black modulation buttons here. You can see there are several of them on the machine. Any of these routing modulations allow you to enter into the modulator and select which things are modulating what. So I'll give you an idea of what the menu item is for, what the LCD is for. First of all, anytime you move a knob, you will get immediate feedback as to the settings of that knob. And it tells you what you're moving it to. This is the CC value that's going over. When you're moving a waveform for an LFO, it's nice and it tells you the actual waveform you're selecting. So it works for everything, every single knob, every single function on there, all the modulation offsets, everything basically. If you press one of these knobs, you go into special modes. The first knob moves you into a mode that allows you to control the MIDI access and the channel. You can turn the MIDI mode to Omni, you can select your channel here, and this is where these other knobs work. The main knob normally works the main functions, and the smaller knob, these two knobs here, will control, in this case, like the value. So you can select different MIDI channel 11. I'm going to exit out of that. And that's the first setting, the setting. The second button controls parameter access. So any parameter that I have changed, I can now read it and modify it. So all the envelopes, waveforms, oscillators, modifiers. Let's see, we were over at the filter just a few moments ago. Filter cutoff, filter resonance. So as I move filter resonance here, I can adjust it. If I adjust this knob, now I can actually override what this knob is doing and write a parameter directly out over MIDI. The third button down gives me the access to modifiers. Modifiers allow me to combine LFOs, mod wheels, pitch wheel, ADSRs, velocity, aftertouch, and allows me to add them, multiply them, put a lag filter on them, contour them, or reduce their resolution, bit crush them. And so that's a nice function. In this case, to bring it up, it shows my modifier, the adder function, is going to take the mod wheel and add the envelope 2 to it. I also can change them to multipliers. This is a very useful function actually. In this case, we'll select an LFO. Now with the mod wheel, if I entered this function in by hitting the green button, the modulation wheel will now multiply the output of the LFO and will send it out of its output. So I will come over here and I will select the pitch modulation source selector. And in this case, you'll see the LCD will now show what I'm selecting. And I can select all the envelopes. There are 3 envelopes, 4 oscillators, but I want to select multiplier number 1 because that's what we just made. Do that. I want to put in some controlled by the modulation wheel, and that's done by the modifiers. I have now taken LFO2, multiply it by the position of the modulation wheel, which you can't see down below you. I'll just scan down there. Here it is. So now as I And the depth of that is still controlled by my pitch depth modulation knob right here. And so that's what's really neat about the modifiers, is that you can combine things together in really unique ways. In fact, some of the neat things that you'll see later on is I'm actually using LFOs to modulate other LFOs, so you can have variable frequency. Since the modulate LFOs can be one shot as well, that acts like little ARs functions. You can do anything with the envelopes. You can make the envelopes be velocity sensitive, so that their rate of change is a function of velocity. You can do anything with the same thing with the two modifiers that are going into the filter, the two modifiers that are going into the VCA. You can change the shape of the waveform dynamically by connecting it to a modulator or a modifier as well. And if you want more than one or two things going into something, you can use the adder. So in the case of the pitch modulation, there's only one input, one knob. But I could add the pitch wheel and an LFO together, and now my depth of modulation will control the two of those together. So you can add functions together that way. Certainly last but not least is the ability to do patches. Right now I have this set up for 16 internal patches and 16 external patches stored in E² PROM inside the machine, and then 16 patches that are stored in Flash that are hard-coded in. There'll certainly be more than that. That's just my starting point. I could certainly store probably 128 different parameters, patches inside the machine itself. So let's just select a new one here. In patch mode, select patch number 0. You hit that guy. This is a sound that's using all oscillators, sub-oscillators in different octaves, adding them together and actually overdriving the filter a little bit so you get a little dirt. And that's how you select patches. It's very straight up, very simple.